A woman's hug reveals her internal state before she's even fully aware of it. And if you're present, truly present, you won't need to ask questions she doesn't know how to answer yet. You'll feel it. You'll feel her warmth as an offering or a shield, her stillness as surrender or suppression, her squeeze as reassurance or plea. And just as importantly, you'll feel your own reaction to it. Because that's the part men often overlook. They study her signals while ignoring their own. But connection isn't one way. Her body is mapping yours as well. She's reading your embrace for safety, for openness, for emotional depth. She's paying attention to how your hands settle, whether they press or float, whether your grip is gentle or performative. She's sensing if you're fully there, or if you're already retreating even as you hold her. A hug at its core is a mirror. It reflects what we bring into it. If you enter it guarded, she'll feel the wall. If you enter it needy, she'll feel the pull. If you enter it with clarity, grounded in your own center, she'll feel the space you create, without even knowing why she breathes easier in your arms. But to offer that space, you have to know where you're holding tension. You have to be aware of the places inside you that shut down when intimacy gets too close. You have to be willing to feel your own fear, the one that tells you connection is a risk, that softness is vulnerability, that if she really saw you, she might leave. Those fears don't disappear when you touch someone. Sometimes they get louder. But the man who can stay present with that noise without letting it define his action, that's the man who begins to shift everything. Reading her hug isn't about diagnosing her feelings. It's about letting the moment guide you. About tuning into her emotional landscape without trying to control it. Let her hesitation mean what it means. Let her intensity breathe without reacting to it. Let her silence be silence, without rushing to fill it. There is strength in the man who doesn't rush to fix the discomfort of closeness. There is steadiness in the man who holds her not to change her mood, but to reflect back her worth, without needing to be her solution. When she leans into you, it might be from longing or fatigue. It might be a doorway to trust, or a way to ground herself in the chaos of the world. You won't always know. And you don't need to. Your job isn't to analyze her emotions into clean categories. It's to create a moment where her nervous system feels less alone. Where your stillness says, you don't have to hold it all right now. And that moment is rare. Most women have been touched by hands that weren't listening. Held by arms that were more interested in receiving comfort than offering it. They've been close to men whose presence disappeared the moment intensity arrived. Who looked for escape routes the second real vulnerability walked through the door. You don't need to be that man. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to turn the hug into a strategy. You just need to be there, not as a performance but as a choice. And in that choice everything changes. Because something deep in her begins to settle when she senses she's being held by someone who's not afraid of how much she feels. Someone who doesn't try to dilute her presence. Someone who doesn't flinch when her depth shows up uninvited. In your stillness, she learns something that most of the world has taught her to doubt, that she is not too much. And maybe you needed to learn that too. Maybe part of your hesitation isn't just about her emotions, but your own. Maybe there's a part of you that still believes you have to stay in control to be respected. That softness will cost you power. That tenderness is something you can offer only once you've proven strength. But what if strength lives inside tenderness? What if the most powerful version of you isn't the one who dominates space, but the one who expands it? What if you could learn to hold her emotions not like a challenge to conquer, but like whether to stand in without retreat? That's the invitation every hug carries. It's a test you weren't told you were taking, not by her but by life itself. Because every time you hold someone, you are showing the world how you hold yourself. If you can't tolerate stillness, it means you haven't made peace with your own. If you fidget, if you overthink, if you reach to move things along, that isn't about her. That's about your relationship to your own vulnerability. And if you're brave enough to look at that, to feel where the discomfort begins, not to shame it but to understand it, then you start to change. Not for her. For you. You start to see that you've been chasing connection in all the wrong places. That the closeness you've been craving won't come from being impressive. It will come from being real. From standing still in a moment that asks you to feel without fleeing. And it starts here. With the next time you hold her. With the next time she leans into you. Maybe for comfort, maybe for clarity, maybe without knowing why. And instead of asking yourself what it means, ask yourself this. Can I be here fully? Can I stay open even when I'm unsure? Can I listen not with my mind but with my presence? Because when you do that, when you meet her in the moment without needing to shape it, she feels it. And she remembers. Not just that you held her. But that, for once, she didn't have to hold herself. Sometimes the hug you remember for years is the one you didn't understand at the time. Felt ordinary, quiet. But something in you paused when it happened. Something subtle like the air between you changed. And long after she walked away, you were still carrying the shape of it. Not in your arms but in your body. In your chest. In your breath. It stayed with you, not because of what happened but because of what was felt and never spoken. That's the thing about emotional moments. They rarely announce themselves. They unfold in between seconds. In the quiet before your thoughts catch up. And if you're not paying attention, not just to her but to yourself, you miss it. You miss the tremble in her exhale. You miss the part of you that wanted to hold her longer but didn't know if it was allowed. You miss the truth that closeness brings, because you were too busy trying to manage what it meant. But the body remembers. It always does. And hers does too. That's why it matters. How you touch her, how you hold her, how you respond when she opens even a little. Because those gestures become part of her internal map. They shape her sense of safety. Her memory of being with you won't be filed by logic. It will be recorded in feeling. In how calm she felt when your arms wrapped around her. In whether her nervous system softened or stayed alert. In whether she felt held or just handled. And when you hug her with presence, something old begins to loosen. Not just in her but in you. Because if you grew up needing to prove your worth before you received affection, physical closeness can feel like an unfamiliar reward. Something earned. Something fleeting. And when someone offers it freely without demand, you don't always know how to receive it. So you stand there, holding her, while somewhere inside you, a voice whispers, "What if I don't deserve this?" That's the wound that often goes unseen in men. The belief that love is conditional. That presence must be earned through strength, performance, usefulness. And so you learn to give but not to receive. To touch but not to feel. To hold but never be held. But presence is not something you can fake. It's not a performance you can refine. It's a return to stillness, to clarity, to a part of you that doesn't need to impress anyone. And in that return, you begin to understand what women mean when they say they want to feel safe with you. It's not about locking the doors and paying the bills. It's not about giving answers to her every question. It's about how steady you are when her emotions change. How quiet you can be when she doesn't know what she needs. How you hold her when she's tired of being strong. And your touch tells her she doesn't have to be. Safety isn't just protection. It's permission. It's the unspoken message that she can arrive fully. Without shrinking, without adjusting. Without hiding the parts of herself that have been told too many times they're too sensitive, too intense, too much. When you hug her with that kind of presence, she won't need to say anything. Because her body will begin to trust you in a way that no words can explain. And that trust, it's rare. It's what most people chase but never find. Because most people never slow down long enough to offer it, or receive it. There's a moment, if you stay long enough, where her body starts to lean in differently. Not with tension. Not with hesitation. But with a kind of soft surrender. Not submission. Not dependency. Just a quiet acceptance that, in this moment, she doesn't have to carry it all. And if you're present with her, if your breath is calm, if your arms aren't demanding anything in return, you'll feel it. A shift. The way her spine relaxes. The way her shoulders drop. The way her heartbeat finds a new rhythm against your chest. That's the moment you remember for the rest of your life. Not because it's sexual. Not because it's dramatic. But because it's real. Because it's the kind of closeness that can't be manufactured. It has to be allowed. Most men think women remember their words. But women remember the moment their body felt unguarded. They remember the man who didn't pull away when they got quiet. They remember the steadiness, the groundedness, the feeling of not having to perform. And that's what a hug can become. Not a gesture, but a refuge. But you have to be honest with yourself. If you're using touch as a tool to get something, validation, reassurance, access, she will feel it. If your presence is shaped by an outcome, she'll sense the undercurrent of control. If you're only there to be seen as good, not to actually be good, your body will betray your intentions. The invitation is this: slow down. Feel her before you try to move her. Listen with your attention. Breathe with her, not over her. Don't fill the silence. Don't interpret it. Don't rescue her from it. Just be the kind of man who can stay in it, calmly, fully, without agenda. Because she's not testing you. She's watching how you show up when nothing needs to be fixed. She's listening for the integrity in your stillness. She's measuring your presence by how much space she can take up in your arms before you tense or check out. This is what creates memory. The body knows when it's being held with care. It knows when the person across from it is grounded enough not to make it about themselves. And that knowing rewrites something deep. You may never know the ripple your presence creates. She may never tell you. She may never have the words. But when she thinks back to you, it won't be your compliments or your confidence or your effort she remembers. It will be the moment her body felt, without question, that it was okay to let go. And maybe that's what we're all reaching for. Not grand declarations. Not perfect timing. Just a moment when closeness doesn't require explanation. A moment when two people stop negotiating and start resting. In breath, in silence, in each other. So if you want to read her hug, don't try to decode it. Don't measure it against expectation. Just meet it. With your body. With your breath. With the part of you that no longer needs to be impressive to be enough. When you do that, everything she's been holding will speak to you. Not in words, but in presence. And you'll finally understand what it means to hold someone without needing to understand them first. If you felt this more than you heard it, if something here settled into a part of you you've been ignoring, you're not alone. This space was made for that kind of honesty, the kind that doesn't perform, the kind that doesn't rush. If you're on that path, stay close. Subscribe if you're ready to stop searching for surface answers and start listening to the truth that lives in your body. Share this with someone who feels more than they let on. And if this brought something up in you, a memory, a fear, a shift, speak it in the comments. We see it all. Until next time, stay with the moment and let presence say what words never could.